Hi everyone, and welcome back to one of our sessions on how to cope without therapy. Today, promise I'm not gonna say anything about Schopenhauer, although no philosophy per se. It's just that sometimes our minds sort of kind of get sidetracked, and I wanna share with you today a lovely little thing from my lovely little book, Finding Beauty of Patrick Lindsay, which I talked to you about in my other video. And before we get to it, how it sprung into my mind. It's Saturday today, by the way, and I usually am one of those people that either reads or spends time alone on Saturday, or cooks or cleans the house. The music is playing, and I actually enjoy it, my company. It brings me equilibrium, brings me balance. And this morning, there was one lovely post that just popped onto my screen that has lovely hearts on it, and it's a tiny little bit from the brilliant Carson McCullers that was born yesterday in 1917. Carson was a American novelist, and if you want to know a bit more about her and the famous novel that she put together about hearts and isolation, go ahead and Google her. But here it comes. Carson said, we are torn between nostalgia for the familiar and an urge for the foreign and strange. As often as not, we are homesick most for the places we have never known. And that sort of sank in for me. I kind of relate to the torn element there, and how you can miss emotions and still want to feel fully, and you've got that nostalgia about it, but in the same time you can be homesick for places or faces that you have never known, and that's beautiful. And talking about equilibrium, something that I'm sure you guys experience as well. You must have throughout the day some sort of moments where you just need to bring yourself into balance, not so much into check. No, you just need time to rearrange the pieces, put yourself back together, just draw yourself back home, feel what you feel again. And sometimes that equilibrium, that balance, it's so easy to be disturbed by anything really nowadays. Sometimes it's just obvious, as in you're doing something you don't enjoy, you have to do something. There's for those of us that are lucky enough to work and like what we work, it doesn't necessarily bring about a change in balance, but it does challenge equilibrium sometimes. So you name it, your day can move from euphoria to fury, sometimes to boiling in such a short space of time. And certain things are obvious, others are more silent, and you just absorb them and you take them as they are, and you're sometimes perhaps you just do it, you stay silent because out of fear, I don't know, frustration, uh, the remembrance of pain, sometimes purely because remember my other video, because we realize we just don't really know ourselves and how we react and why we react that way. So your balance and your equilibrium can just shift and move and get twisted and torn, and you need to remember, you have to remember, you have to be able to take that time in a day and just bring your pieces back together, pull yourself together, filter in what stays, what doesn't, find your limits, discard anything that just doesn't belong with you inside. Sometimes you can be drawn to things and people, and you know they belong, but the balance is just tormented. That's the word, tormented. So here's a couple of things, 2 little tricks that I do need you to remember. And because we're talking about equilibrium, think of it this way. It's quite simple, night and day. And when it comes to night, there's something that a little tweet came up the other day, and from Dr. Glenn Doyle, and it sort of kind of makes sense, pretty much the same way. You know, when you're angry, eat a sandwich, you're not going to be angry anymore. But when it comes to equilibrium and balance and finding your pieces back in, just remember this, remember the simplicity of it. Nighttime messes with our heads. Things look and feel differently at night. Time gets a little weird. Things that seem manageable at noon can seem overwhelming at midnight. Easy does it. Just keep your playlists and your quotes and your books, all of them handy. And because nighttime can play with our minds, here's where lovely Patrick Lindsay Finding Beauty comes in. And for page 43, he says, finding beauty in the light. Light is central to every artistic masterpiece. Its use separates the masters from the rest, and in our daily lives, it creates beauty with every shadow and highlight. It can lift our spirits and banish the engulfing darkness. And because it's actually quite powerful, the little caption at the bottom of the page, we have a tiny little bit from Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche. You know, after all. A bit of philosophy never hurt. Friedrich Nietzsche says, love is not consolation, it is light. I'm Gabriela, and thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.